Good morning and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Coffee and Compliance. We're going to be discussing and answering questions today about the compliance and regulations that your business needs to know about in 2026. I'm Holly Waters-Marsh from Urban Fox Marketing, and I'm speaking to Swapan, the CEO of Deeplai. So today we'll be covering the latest update on EUDR, the next steps for your business, how to prepare the digital product passports in furniture specifically, and what you need to know about the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM. Compliance and regulation are no longer background considerations. They're shaping how global supply chains operate, how products access markets, and how trust is built between buyers, suppliers, and those end consumers. As we move forward in 2026, the pace of change is accelerating. EUDR has come into a sharper focus, and digital product passports have a looming deadline. And on top of that, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism is becoming ever more relevant to businesses, with expectations around traceability, data accuracy, and transparency rising across natural product and manufacturing supply chains. So, the question is no longer whether companies will need to comply, but how prepared they are to do so efficiently, credibly, and at scale. And this is something that Timber ID is solving through their unified compliance platform. So back to the initial focus points for our discussion today, Swapan. So what is the latest update on EUDR and what are the next steps for businesses?
Good morning, and once again from my side as well, Happy New Year and all the best in your businesses and getting compliant in 2026. Yes, UDR came to the final level of postponement, so we're now having the extra year to getting prepared. And as it was predicted, majority of the companies simply put their activities on hold regarding UDR. So yeah, I mean, my recommendation to all is please understand that the compliance in general needs to be addressed in your organization. UDR is just one element. And we're focusing, I mean, today on the digital product, I mean, passport, yeah. We can think also about, the requirements when we're exporting to the North American, I mean, market. We can think about other requirements in the compliance in the supply chains, yeah. So have a look on your organization. How are you prepared and ready to be compliant in your supply chain in general, and how you can address all the expectations which are brought by different regulatories or by your buyers in the supply chain. Yeah. So the mapping of the supply chain is inevitable part of it, and we still see that a number of companies are not yet understanding the full scope of the supply chain and think about how to get everything done in a most cost-effective and efficient way in your organization. So compliance is here. You will not escape from that in that way or other way. So it's just, this regulatory, that regulatory. And to make a final comment on EUDR, which I read a lot of posts on the LinkedIn, and I liked really one which was saying, yes, so this is the last delay. No more delays will happen. So get prepared because it takes not days but months to be prepared. So don't postpone it. I mean, too much in your organization, and try to understand what you need to do, how to need to do to get simply on board. Yeah.
Great. And talking about digital product passports, specifically in furniture, how should businesses be preparing for that?
Yes. So it's very important to make everyone understand that the supply chain transparency and data gathering is a part of the digital product passport. Yeah, and here we're facing in some organizations um, their approach of splitting what they need to do under EUDR and now what they would need to do under digital product, I mean, passport. Yeah. So we're getting back to the point of the unified compliance, I mean, platform, which should serve all compliance obligations. Yeah. So to make it very practical, if you are within EU and you are obliged just to receive a due diligence statement, review it, and pass it to your buyer under EUDR. The simplifications which were announced, and I think we'll get, I mean, through. That's great. It means less work. But if you are a producer of furniture, of you or you're a supplier to a furniture, I mean, producer, you need to understand that the due diligence process must be run in full. So you need all the data, otherwise you'll be unable to pass them to your digital product passport specifications. Yeah. So looking at what all obligations you have under digital product passport, you should first begin with the supply chain mapping and understanding how we will gather the relevant information, because that's key to move on. Then the second element, which is equally important, is the bill of materials. Yeah, you need to understand how your product is built and then link it with the appropriate suppliers and get the real, I mean, the data to your product passport. And the third element is the environmental, which is linked with the carbon footprint. So you need to do your calculations. You need to gather the calculations from your suppliers and you need to submit them. So when you think about it, what changes you need to do in your organization, you will learn it once you begin the process. You will prepare the procedure of implementing the digital product passport in your organization, where you will define your specifics. And what we are seeing with the projects we're having, uh, it really will take long months. We even predict that to 12 months is a minimum you would need in an organization to do it safely, step by step, without any rush, and getting all the processes in place.
Okay, great. And so moving on now to carbon border adjustment mechanism, what do businesses need to know about that?
I mean, I would like to begin here with all those who were opening the bottles of champagne that UDR is postponed and again, and you never know what will happen, etc. There are other regulations which are not postponed, yeah, and which are in place, and this is one of them. So here on the list of materials, we need to focus on iron and steel, aluminum, the elements which are used in the production of the furniture. So here we need to have a check. There is a very precise list of items which is covered. So this mechanism is in force already now from January 1st. Yeah. So we need to understand that. And it is complex. Yeah. It is complex to get through it. And it's ending up again with the same element. You need your data. As in the supply chain, you need your provenance data, your compliance data. Here you need your uh, technology. I mean data to present, and based on that, you will be charged the import fee. Yeah? But if you do not have this precise data, there is a benchmarking gap mechanism implemented, I mean, today, where you can face a big surprise and that you didn't predict that the level of the fees is so high. So if you still didn't begin this process or you're not fully understanding, you take your time and learn about it. And for our, let's say, business sector, we know that most of the furniture manufacturers are buying those elements from the importers, so they're not just directly impacted, but they need to make sure that the companies who are importing those products to the EU market have the full information because they need to have this information in the digital product passport.
Yeah. So there's a lot to consider there. Okay, so moving on to some wider questions then. So why is 2026 shaping up to be such a critical year for compliance and regulation across global supply chains?
We need to understand that we're in a global world, yeah, and all what's happening is not happening in one country. It's not happening only in EU. It's happening in different regions. We are also are focusing on expansion. Most of the furniture manufacturers love to export their products to other countries. Yeah, so we need to have in mind that the compliance is here at different levels of obligation, but will not escape this path. Yeah, the path is there, and it's coming. It will be in weeks and months. So the recommendation to all the organization is just take your time, make your research, and understand how compliance will impact your business and how and what you need to do and how you need to address it in your organization. This is the reason why we are coming here and supporting our clients with a unified compliance platform to enable the clients to cover multiple obligations in one platform. Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're talking about receiving the data, which are reliable and verifiable. We should not forget about that. And using the data. Yeah. So once we're in the compliance, process, we should use the data in a most efficient way. As an example, certification bodies which are auditing the certificates for FSC or PFC are based on gathering the compliance information. Yeah, so just begin with gathering the compliance information for your FSC and PFC certification process. Yeah, you already have one topic done, and you know it is being done every period. Yeah, then you can use the same data for UDR. Then you can use add data for digital product passport. You can use the data for whatever other obligations you will have. Yeah, so one database of relevant data related to compliance. That's our recommendation how you should address this topic in your organization.
Okay, great. And then, so how do you think that geolocation, first mile data, and chain of custody requirements, do you see any change in that? Obviously, it become more stringent.
I will maybe give a different example from the required set of documentation which you need to prepare for the as an importer to the United States. There are legal acts which you need to sign a declaration that you are in accordance with all the provisions. Yeah, and obviously you don't need here to prove the geolocation, data. Nobody will ask you for a satellite imagery report as in the EUDR, but you are legally liable to ensure that the material you sourced to build your product is coming from a legal harvesting, from a legal organization which is trading this product. Otherwise, you can be charged heavily, not as a penalty only for your organization, but simply go to jail. Yeah. So compliance is very, very important to have the reliable, verifiable data from the source. And we strongly believe that the first mile, data is creating the simplification for all the other stakeholders in a supply chain. Yeah. So once you're doing the mapping of the supply chain and you're coming to the point that, oh, in my supply chain, there are great companies who are really having good data and they can prove it, then you are on the safe side.
Yeah. And do you think that sort of advancements in AI and automation, is that going to change due diligence, risk assessment, reporting?
We're using AI in our platform at the level which is needed. I believe that there are some organizations which are overseeing AI as a tool to address and solve a lot of issues. I think AI, and I recommend here that would be a separate session we can have on AI and to understand, how the AI today is built and how to understand the level of information you can receive from AI, etc. Yeah. So yeah, in the way we can use AI to automate different processes, yes, for assessing documentation, for having a level of, let's say, human-free approach, far not yet, far not yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's still a lot of information needed and knowledge needed before going much further with that. Okay, so the next question here is, are expectations placed on suppliers likely to change, particularly thinking about small and micro businesses?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I think, asked by a lot of small companies, which are really bit lost in the number of their obligations. So if we're thinking about the digital product, passport, and we're looking at the structure of the companies who are placing the products on the market, we're seeing that here is the exact 80-20 ratio. Yeah. So we got 80% of small companies delivering 20% of the products to the market, but they're still there and they need the support and they need to understand how they can adapt to the regulations. So yes, it is important. Part, and this is the reason why we're approaching those organizations in a very unique and cost-effective approach, simply sizing the license fees based on the classification of the company. You're micro, you have one level of offering. You're small, you have other level of offering, to make it affordable for them and easy to implement, because the processes in this level of organizations are complex than in the larger ones. Yeah. And the bill of material of your product and how you want to address it and create all the data flow much easier in a smaller organization than in a medium size or a large one. Yeah. So because it is simpler, easier, we're supporting all of them. And just feel free to reach out, get your free consultancy and see how to address the processes in your organization. Yeah.
Brilliant. And how do you see buyers? Do you think that buyers and retailers are likely to reward transparent, low-risk supply chains?
Um, I think it's not just a willingness, it's a must, yeah, because as we're saying, yeah, the higher you are at the ladder of the supply chain, the less visibility you have to the source, yeah. So looking, at the mapping of the supply chains, the buyers will more just demand from their suppliers the
Mm,
right set of information. They will audit it and they will see if the information they're being shared is accurate. Yes, I think the buyers will drive the understanding because we're here are touching the part of a brand. Yeah, we shall have for sure a separate this discussion on the value of the brand, positioning of the brand, looking at the clients of the brand. So for sure the brands will make all possible happen to get the right information and have the suppliers which are compliant.
yeah. And what do you think are the long-term business risks of delaying compliance action? Obviously, EUDR, that's been pushed back a year. You touched on it earlier, but what do you think are those risks, just to reiterate that?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, you will not escape the path of being compliant. It's driven by the consumers, it's driven by the supply chains, and it is driven also by getting the competitive advantage. So, or you are the, let's say, early adopter. You want to build your brand on the compliance element, and I believe you will really gain on that, or you will try to see, just compliance as a burden and cost only, and as a minimum what I must do. And yeah, I mean, I'm saying, first of all, ask your buyer, what he needs from you to get, really your business under control, number one. And number two, observe your competitors, what they're doing, yeah? Because you need to have a medium and long term strategy of development of your company. And inevitably, compliance should be on the list.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the next question is around the mindset shift. What shift do companies need to make to stay ahead of regulation? I suppose you've just touched on it there. But is there a way as well that compliance data is not just data, but can become that bigger, as you mentioned, brand, relevant to your brand?
Yes, the shift is that it should be as a standard, not driven by a regulation. Yeah, I, as a owner of a company, would like really to make sure that my suppliers are compliant, and I can, present great products to my clients. Yeah, that should be the driver. And we're seeing, the, let's say, slowdown in EU, but as I say, we're global. Yeah, we see the new regulations coming in China, for example, now. Yeah, so China is a big player on the timber market, on the furniture market. Yeah, so my recommendation: have a look what the Chinese market is bringing, and what you need to get compliant in China. Yeah. So uh, we're in a global world. Let's look at it from a global perspective and see how I will address these processes in my organization. Yeah. And as we're saying, we're a brand and we're communicating to our clients, and we are willing to grow our business, to expand our sales, yeah, bring new products, new innovations to the market. So that is our focus, yeah. So by getting a standard of being, compliant will just help us.
Yeah, definitely. And thinking about, obviously, we've talked about digital product passports a lot today. Producers are not normally in direct contact with end users. So how could this regulation change that, and what could the benefit be, do you think?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, and here we shall address it in our discussions during 2020. Six. Just think that a digital product, passport, having the full set of required information, yeah, about the material, about the provenance of the material, about the manual of use, about the recycling, etc. What it gives us? It gives us, as a producer, that now a client is scanning a QR code or a GS1 code on a product, and is having the access to our portal, our client portal, where we are obliged to present all those informations. Yeah. So now we are having a contact with the consumer. Not all the producers have understanding who are the consumers. If they sell online, they know because they're selling online. Yeah. If they're selling via retail chains, distributors, dealers, etc., they never know who is the end user. Yeah. Now, the end user, by scanning the code, will enter our client, portal, yeah? And now we can begin to think how to communicate with him. And this topic is huge. And the sooner the business owners will understand it, the better for them. And maybe that will be the driver to say, okay, let's get compliant by tomorrow because I
Mm.
want to get in touch with my clients. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely one to explore for next time. But finally, our last question, what advice would you give to a company that feels overwhelmed by the pace of all this regulatory change?
I think I did a lot of advices here, and just to make a short summary of it, yeah. Think about compliance in a positive way, and how to use it to build your brand, build your competitive advantage, and get in touch with your clients. Just perceive compliance as a tool which will enable your organization to differentiate on the market, and that's simply the. And feel free to reach out, and we'll tell you how to do it and how to achieve it.
Yeah, brilliant. Great stuff. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Coffee and Compliance. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. Just in summary then, so we've discussed some of the most important regulations that you need to know for your business in 2026 and the risks of not adhering to them. The SWAPAN has given advice to those companies that still haven't started and how to move forwards with a platform that takes all of these regulations into account and can make that process easier for your business. So join us again on Thursday, the 15th of January at 9:30 GMT, and we'll be back answering your questions, this time about how required information becomes much more than compliance or just data, but as Swapan touched on just there, how that can become a storytelling channel. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.